settlement there called Fort Caroline. King Philip II over in Spain, he heard about Fort Caroline. He was not happy. Florida, we were Spanish territory, so he sent the best of the best to get rid of those pesky Frenchmen. He sent Don Pedro Menendez from Avila, Spain with his army, a handful of Jesuit missionaries, lastly Father Francisco Lopez. They first caught sight of our land August 28th of 1565. This just so happened to be the feast day of St. Augustine. It's how we got our name. But they landed here later on September 8th, which of course is still hurricane season. When they landed, they were so grateful to have made it here safe and sound that the minute they hit solid ground, they dropped down, praise God, and at the very first Catholic Mass in the U.S. there on the right, marked by our 208-foot tall stainless steel cross. If that cross were any taller, it would have flashed strobe lights up on top toward aircraft in the area, and it weighs around 70 tons. It's located here, and the mission, Nombre de Dios, meaning in the name of God. This is an open and active mission. You can walk those grounds for free daily. As we leave the mission grounds, we'll pass by one of the oldest living residents here in town. You'll see the resident to the right in the center of the hotel parking lot. It is the local Florida live oak. On average, those trees live up to 300 years old. We thought that one was older. People said, "You're crazy." We said, "That's unrelated." We got the University of Florida here with their botanists. They studied that tree, found out it's over 600 years old, doubling its normal life expectancy. For that, we have named the tree the Old Senator, because it's old, it's shady, and it's crooked. But we will be turning down a residential road out of respect for our friends and neighbors. We do quiet down a bit, so enjoy the ride as we head down to the Fountain of Youth.
It's the old jail. Old jail over there.
Of Youth, I will go ahead and point out some of the peacock here to our left. I'll talk about those birds here in just a minute. But we are headed to the Fountain of Youth. I start my day here every single morning. I get some of their water. Believe it or not, I'm only 500 years old. I like great for my age. Most museums here will take you 45 minutes to an hour. They have so much here, double that. They have reenactors, they have food. They do have the fountain, and yes, you can drink from it. The birds we saw, they are wild peafowl. They live in the area. I believe up there on the buildings, they have some wild peahen too. Again, they are wild. They just live here in the area. This is an archaeological site for the Native American village of Saloin. At the end, their planetarium demonstrates how sailors like Pedro Menendez navigated the seas only using the stars in the sky. But I'm glad I got to show you some of the birds here. If you don't know much about them, go home and read up on them. Anything you read about a peacock, well, it's a very beautiful tank. Got another one crossing the road. That sounds like a joke. I wish it were. Now, the two columns here on the left and right, these are made from coquina. That is the Spanish word for little shell, exactly what they're made from. The wall here, the wall is not coquina. Can you just scooch? Thank you. That wall is tapia or tabby. The Spanish crown here, they decided to tax coquina. Citizens here were like, ew, taxes. They did not want to pay them. They didn't make this instead using things like oyster shells, limestone, and sand. And across from the Fountain of Youth is the Fountain of Juice, a great place for smoothies, and lemonade, a really great place for hot cocoa too. As we turn here, you can enjoy the ride. If you want the best view here, just look out either side of the train. Blackler did not like that, so he went to the city and he asked them to move that jail.
Yeah.
They told Henry Flagler, no. They said that's not within our budget, but it was within Flagler's. He built the salmon-colored building here directly ahead of us.
Oh, yardie over there.
This to make it look nice and
Look at
pretty,
the
just like
yardie
a
over there.
hotel. From the outside only, that
Yeah,
is.
without Jamaica, it's not nice.
The same people who built Alcatraz.
Without
The
Jamaica,
prisoners
it's
here,
not
they see
nice.
to the left, you see the bars on the windows. Off to the right without the bars is where the warden and their family stayed. They shared the one building together here. The jail was designed to hold around 76 prisoners, 4 people in a single cell. Though I will admit they did hold a lot more. They had 76 in here at a single time, meaning if you had to stay here, there were 2 things you did not have. The first was any privacy, the second was a bathroom. Instead here, they provided you with a bucket. If you were lucky, the bucket did not leak. If the bucket did not leak, it held about a gallon. And that's a load of history for you folks right there. Suddenly the one bathroom down at Ripleys doesn't seem too bad. It is now the old jail museum, showing the jail during its operating era. And when I was in school, they taught us a fun little rhyme. They said in 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. In 1493, Columbus sailed the deep blue sea. The second time around, he had a fun little guy with him by the name of Ponce de Leon. Columbus and Ponce, they did not get along. Ponce left, traveled on his own. During those travels, he became the very first governor of Puerto Rico. Ponce loved Puerto Rico. He loved governing, but the more time he spent there, the more he missed his travels. He would go listen to the sailors tell their stories of their grand adventures that made Ponce miss traveling even more. And one day he heard some sailors talking about the island known as Bimini. It was rumored to have more treasure than all of us combined could spend in an entire lifetime, and that got Ponce excited. He and his buddies, they fixed up their boats. They went sailing looking for Bimini, but they found the Florida East Coast instead. They landed in 1513 down south near Cape Canaveral just around Easter time. That springtime here where flowers are nice and in bloom, thus giving us our name of La Pascua Florida, meaning Festival of Flowers or Flowery Easter, and they claimed us for Spain. We are heading south on what is known as the Old Spanish Trail. This trail ran north to Jacksonville and out west to California. No cars back then. They had their horse and wagons. Those only traveled a few miles an hour. It would have taken you at least 3 days like that up to Jacksonville. That's now roughly an hour drive. And should everything go smoothly, which nothing ever went smoothly, at least 10 months to California. What could you imagine for the families? 10 whole months of Are We There Yet? Not a fun 10 months out west.
They got some cute little stores down there.
Yeah, they do.
definitely an old neighborhood.
As we make our way down, we will go by
Old
the
town.
Visitors Information Center. It'll be on the right-hand side. With the Visitor Center, we have a giant coquina sphere. That giant coquina sphere was the 0-mile marker for the old Spanish Trail. There's one marking the end out in San Diego. Spanish city, we were never won in battle. We were never taken by force. The English, the French, and the pirates, they all tried, and they were all ultimately unsuccessful for a few different reasons. The first reason will be coming up on our left momentarily. It will be the Castillo de San Marcos, or the Castle of St. Mark's, our military fort, constructed here between 1672 and 1695. The fort is made entirely from coquina. Coquina itself is the main reason why we remember. In addition to our fort coming up, we also had our city gates. We'll also pass by those. The gates we currently have were constructed back in 1808. These are also made entirely from coquina. Before these, the gates would have been made out of wood, primarily off logs. This right here, it was the only way in and out of our city. We were surrounded then by this city wall. With that wall, I can read your minds. You're thinking two things. First, best tour guide ever. Thank you. I'll be here all week. Second, that wall, you think it's pathetic, and I agree with you. Back in the day, that wall was over 10 feet tall. The bottom was lined with Spanish bayonet, a very sharp plant, nothing you were climbing over. We were in a curfewed city. If you got here after dark, that city was up. You'd be stranded on the other side of the wall until the morning, with all the critters trying to get you, and all with the angry locals here too. Hi, friends. But as we turn here, we'll turn in front of Potter's Wax Museum. You're welcome, buddy. Potter's Wax Museum, America's very first wax museum. Yes, they do have Harry Potter in there. It's also a site to our authentic drugstore, dating back from 1886. The first licensed drugstore in the state of Florida. We are also coming up on a pretty cool tree here. The tree is on the right-hand side. It is a local Florida live oak with a palm tree growing through it. We call trees like that a love tree. It said if you kiss your loved one under a tree like that, that person will be with you forever and ever and ever. Yeah, that's a really long time. Most people aren't worth it. Be mindful if you kiss somebody under a love tree. But we will go back to Flagler and his hotels. Of course, the Methodist Church sat on the plot of land Flagler wanted for his second hotel. He went to them with a deal, offered them a new plot of land for free. All they had to do was move. Like the city and the old jail, moving was not within the church's budget, though of course it was within Flagler's. He built them a brand new church. He built this here on the right, the Grace United. This was the first church in the state built using the poured concrete technique, a technique Flagler did favor. All three of his hotels built just like it. The terracotta is red hand-carved terracotta. The doors are perfectly balanced hand-carved cedar doors, and the bell tower up on top. I'm going to let you in on a little local secret. That bell tower, that's not really a bell tower. That's just a tower. By design, it holds no bell. We'll get to the reason why in just a moment. The Baptist Church, they saw this beauty, they got jealous, they too wanted a brand new building. They went to Flagler for financial help. He provided it, though it came with conditions. He gave them $10,000. Anything over that, they had 2 years to raise on their own. They could not have a mortgage. They too could have no bells. They built this on the right ancient City Baptist Church. The yellow coloring of the bricks, that is the natural coloring of the bricks made here in the state of Florida. We've got a high sulfur content in our water. It's just how they turned out. It is also why I do not recommend that water over at the mountain out here. But why no bells? I'll tell you, it was not because Flagler wanted them to win any Nobel Prizes, okay? He had other reasons in mind, including this right here. This is the Flagler Memorial Presbyterian Church. Flagler had this built to honor his late daughter and granddaughter, both of whom unfortunately passed away on their way down to visit him. Flagler wanted this up by the 1-year anniversary of their passing. At the time, people said that was impossible. Flagler loved his daughter and granddaughter dearly. Impossible's not work here. Had this up in 361 days. That is excluding the stained glass windows. Those took around 12 years. All of white cream and tan terracotta. It is more rare than the red again all hand carved. As they were shipping it, they were carving it on their boats. Flagler did not want other church bells interrupting the services held here. He also did not want them interrupting the guests in his hotels. His first hotel is now Flagler College. It has been the college here since the 1960s. Before that, this was the Ponce de Leon, his grand resort. Look up and to the right, what looks like bell towers instead were water towers. They held 8,000 gallons apiece, much needed. They had running hot and cold water here. This was brand new for the time. This opened in 1888. Also brand new for the time, this hotel, it's electric. It was one of the first hotels in the world to have electricity. We had it here before they had it up in the White House. And given it was that new, Flagler had Thomas Edison come here personally to oversee the installation. Given it was that new, it did scare the guests staying here. They refused to use it. Flagler hired teenagers from the area. Their only job for 75 cents a day was to turn on and off the light switches. And that was a lot of money to do just that. As we are able to turn here, pay close attention to the round part of the building. Now the dining hall, back in the ballroom. Look closely at the windows. It is part of the world's largest collection of installed Tiffany stained glass. Over 70 pieces here. Louis Comfort Tiffany not brought here for the windows and said he did the entire interior design. So if you think the outside is nice, the inside is even nicer. If you've been through Ripleys or plan on going through the stained glass there above the space station, that is also Tiffany stained glass, original to our building. This hotel was only open for 3 months of the year, January through March. To stay here, Flagler had to personally invite you. If you took him up on the offer, he gave you a great deal. You only had to pay him for all 3 months, regardless of the length of your stay here.
Wow.
Those 3 months ran you roughly $10,000, and that is not adjusting for inflation. As we make our way to the front, you'll see a life-size statue of Flagler greeting you. He posed in the entire world. His net worth in today's money, roughly $12.5 billion. That is billion here with a B. You see him reaching into his front pocket. Some like to say he's doing so to grab onto his money as he looks across the street there at our Chase Bank.
want to drive by.
Personally, I think that was just a fucking coincidence. What's not a coincidence is that their neighbor here looks just like the Ripleys Building.
Yeah.
Or I should say the Ripleys Building looks just like their neighbor. William Borden, he came here on vacation. He saw this upcoming house and
right
he was like, whoa, cool house. He wanted one just like it. This too was a vacation home, but for a man named Franklin Smith. Smith was a self-taught architect from Boston. He and his family, they went on vacation to Spain. They went to the Alhambra Palace in Granada. When they got there, they were like, whoa, cool palace. They wanted a house like that. That's what Smith built them here using the poured concrete technique. A technique Smith did master as an architect, making this the first building in the state of Florida built using it. If you don't know how it works, it's fairly simple. You've got to form in the shape of the building like a giant cookie cutter. Fill that form up with concrete. Let the concrete harden. Raise the form, add more concrete, let it harden. You keep doing that until you have your desired height, giving it the layered look right here. It is a very sturdy construction method, still in use today. The building itself is now the Via Zareta Museum, an antiquities museum with self-guided audio tours in English, French, and Spanish. Smith here was a very good friend of Flagler's. He did assist Flagler in the construction of his hotels and churches. By the time he made it directly across the street, I think his technique was refined just a little bit. Nothing against the Via Zareta. It is a very beautiful building in its own right. I just think he had it a little more sleek there across the street. Boring. Blackler added no entertainment here, and that is why he wanted the property from the Methodist. That property sat in a great location, coming up directly across the street. So as we turn, we will go by what was hotel number 2, the Alcazar. The Alcazar opened less than a year after the Ponce de Leon. It was open year-round. Anybody can stay here, no invite needed. Rooms here went between 5 cents up to $2 a night. So what a steal!
Yeah.
Flagler made sure this place was extra fun compared to the Ponce de Leon. Honestly, not hard to do. Amenities included, but weren't limited to Russian and Turkish baths, a bowling alley, a black and white movie theater. Here where the building dips in, this was the world's longest indoor swimming pool. Still there without the water, now holding a cafe inside. Now, of course, in Flagler's era, cars weren't a thing quite yet, so he had no use for parking lots. Back here, we had badminton, tennis, archery, riflery, croquet lawns, and a bicycle training academy, because you needed a driver's license to ride a bike here in town. My job here can be easy sometimes, so welcome to Lincolnville. I never miss that lineup. Of course, named after Abraham Lincoln, St. Augustine here was one of the most important cities in the Southeast during the abolitionist movement. We were a freed city here for freed and escaped slaves. We welcome those folks here with open arms, gave the land, and helped them with the homes you'll see around. The homes here, we like to call them our painted ladies. With their beautiful colors, I'm sure it's easy to see why.
Yeah.
Lincolnville here is Northeast Florida's largest collection of Victorian-era homes. I think that they are gorgeous.
They are.
Coming up on the left, you'll see 99 Bridge Street. Beautiful home. Over 130 years old. Right here.
Yeah.
Then to the right, you'll see the navy and gray house. We call this one the Jefferson Estate, named after Thomas Jefferson's great-granddaughter. She owned this house. She lived right there with it, owned the entire city block it sat on as well. That was for good reason. She lived on she had cattle and chicken that she used for her meat and eggs, and gardens for her fruits and vegetables. The Jefferson Estate is no longer a private home, as of recently is opened up as a restaurant. And.
I wonder if black people still own these homes.
I haven't seen no black people.
Yeah, because you
But we
said
will
they
go
were given
back
to the slave.
Flagler's era.
Black
Fishing
stuff were given to the
and
slave.
shrimping were both vital to our local economy as they remain today. Directly ahead of us is our fish market. As we turn, we'll pass by the fish camp that is a local restaurant here. If you look past that in the water, you'll see fishing and shrimping boats. Flagler's era, the fishermen sailed in right around here as well. Back then, they needed a way to keep their fresh catch fresh. Refrigeration didn't exist at that time, but it was new, expensive, and unreliable. They did not use it. Instead, they came down the road here to the building with the green trim. This was our ice plant. The fishermen came here, they got their ice, took that plus their fish back to the market. Most homes had ice boxes, they came here as well. And of course, Flagler's hotels relied on the ice plant here too. On the topic of Flagler, we need to discuss the railroad. Flagler is the reason why we're on a train right now. The railroad followed Flagler down to Florida. At first, they only ran during the daytime. Flagler wanted them to extend their hours after dark so people would come here and see the city all lit up. Like I said, the electricity was brand new. So Flagler, he went to the railroad company and he asked them to start running at night. They told Henry Flagler, no. But of course, he did not tell Henry Flagler no. He was incredibly rich and he was incredibly petty. So he bought that railroad company in its entirety.
That's right.
And believe it or not, they started to run at night.
Oh, that shit.
To this day, that is the Florida East Coast Railway. Under Flagler went from Maine down to Key West, their headquarters here in town. It was hit with a bad hurricane in the late 1800s, now going from Maine to Miami. What used to be a headquarters here is now housing for the college. I'll get to those in just a moment. His trains, of course, stopped at the train station. That is now the San Sebastian Winery. To our left, free tours and tastings daily. Last one out at 5. If you like what you taste, they will sell it to you. If it's legal, they'll ship it to you. But you're in Florida, go to Publix, it's there too. They have free on-site parking for you to use throughout your tour. It is a family-friendly tour. Little ones, they do get tastings, but of grape juice only, of course. Whetstone's Chocolate Factory. They do timed tours daily. Last one out at 3:30. If you just want the chocolate, go right next door. Or head down St. George Street. They've got 2 locations there as well. Mr. Whetstone was a man from Pennsylvania who got into the chocolate business. Unheard of, I know. He started off with ice cream, then fudge. He found himself in Walt Disney World when they opened up over 50 years ago. But we will take a step back to the depot. People got off the trains there. They went down this road right here to their hotels. These were Flagler's friends. They had a lot of money. They weren't walking all that way. Instead, they would hitch a ride with the St. Augustine Transfer Company, a horse and carriage company owned and operated by the Cooley family here for 4 generations. They came here from the island of Majorca. As we turn, the old Cooley barns will be coming up on our left. They are big, they are navy. They're also the only barns we'll pass by. You really can't miss them. Horse and carriages, they would leave out from there. They would follow the route we just took down to that depot. It'd pick you up, then take you down King Street to your hotel. The same in reverse at the end of your visit from hotel to depot, back to those Barnes. House, red trim with a photo of Dr. King signing their family Bible in their yard. This Bible is still inside this home. It is owned by the same family. The homeowner here, Miss Tyson, back in June, she turned 101.
Wow.
Yeah. Her next door neighbor was Dr. Haling with his dentist office.
Dr. King used to stay here.
Ford Civil Rights Museum. Both locations are stops on our Freedom Trail. That's around 7 miles for you to explore. More information, online or in person at our Visitors Information Center or right there at the Civil Rights Museum. Now, it is hard to see from the road. 3 homes in, it is rumored that Al Capone would stay there. It said he would go up to the Alcazar to gamble. A while back, somebody asked if it was legal for the man to do so. And I said, sir, this is Al Capone we're talking about. I don't think he really cared. But we were heading up the other end of the Alcazar. It's now the Lightner Museum. This museum is a giant collection of collections. It's also home to our city hall. If Flagler had the Ponce de Leon and the Alcazar hotels, and why did he need the Cordova Hotel? Today, it's Casa Monica. Of his 3, it is the only one still operating as a hotel. And I find that to be funny considering Flagler, he did not build this here. Franklin Smith from the Bees Radio, he built this. When Flagler found out that his good friend was going to the hotel business, Flagler was not happy. He liked his monopoly here. And he told Smith if he followed through, they would not be friends anymore. Franklin Smith said, okay. And he built this hotel. He thought that was that. What Smith failed to realize was that they had this conversation before he got all of his furniture in. He was waiting on some to arrive so he could open up. That furniture never arrived. And of course, it was traveling down the Florida East Coast Railway, owned and operated by Henry Flagler. Yeah. The train with that furniture, it went missing, as trains do. And Flagler had no idea what happened to it. Oh no! Smith could not open. Smith started to lose money, and eventually Franklin Smith went bankrupt. Womp womp. Not a fun time for Franklin Smith, but this is when I tell you that deep down, Henry Flagler was a very forgiving man, and he decided to help his buddy out, and he bought this hotel from him. The missing train showed up not too long after, so he got the hotel, he got the train. He was pretty happy after that. And we should get going here, hopefully soon. We did have a few smart drivers who blocked the entire intersection. Solution. They wanted no conflict with us here, and to prevent any conflict, they just sold us to the new United States. And I'll point that monument out as we come up on it. As a Spanish city, we did have our governor's house coming up to our left. We were the first capital in the state of Florida. That's now out west in Tallahassee. Our governors, their families, their associates, their families all worked and lived right here. You'll see a balcony facing the plaza looking directly at that Constitution Monument. Our governors would use that to address the citizens in the square. Last used for that purpose back in 2015 by the King and Queen of Spain. They came here to celebrate our birthday. Now, with any Spanish square, we have our government house. We also have our cathedral coming up to our left. There is a statue of St. Augustine up on top. It is debated to be the oldest Catholic church in the nation. They've not always had that one building over there. We were burned down quite a few times, but their congregation has consistently been meeting here, building or not, since our founding. We do have another church here on the right. Now pay close attention to this third window here. Depending on how light hits it, you'll see a face or you won't. And that's signed by Louis Comfort Tiffany himself. Now, will you be here tomorrow? Okay,
No.
I was gonna say Nights of Lights starts tomorrow. They've got the light up. If you don't know about Nights of Lights, we light up the city in white Christmas lights. This
Yeah.
is the centerpiece, over 1 million Christmas lights here alone. So it runs through January. So keep that in mind if you plan on coming back. The first two storefronts here on the right, so we had our Woolworths with the sit-in. Look at the push bars on the doors. Those are the original Woolworths push bars. And we are getting ready to turn down the oldest road in the U.S. I promise it'll feel that way too. This is Avonlea Street, named for our sister city over in Avonlea, Spain. At first, Paul Hospital Street. For the Spanish military.
The oldest road right here.
When they were operating, no pun intended, they had a survival rate of around 70%. The old jail that Flagler wanted to move was a brick building right next door. If you're here later and you like ice cream, this here is Peace Pie gourmet ice cream sandwiches, best here in the city. Then if you like supporting, of course I love you guys. Then if you like supporting local artists and artisans, I like to call this our little art alley. The first storefront is the George Nick Gallery with their beautiful fine art showcasing our lovely little city. Then we have Mr. Dan Holiday with his underworking and Mr. John Bouvier with his antique maps and prints. Right here we have Connor and Awesome Goes with the Town. And we're going to hang out here because we've got people who don't know how to drive directly ahead of us. This is a one-way road and they've decided to go the wrong way, so I'm just going to let them figure themselves out. Hopefully soon. We'll see.
So we got this old trolley for ourselves.
Right,
How special.
We have Mr. Phil
How
and Miss
special.
T here at the bar, the only wine bar and art gallery here in the city. Beautiful. They figured out which way to go. Love that for them. All right. After Mr. Philip Miss D, we have Mr. Kid and Miss Donna with Jensen's Pottery. Their pottery is beautiful. The instruments in there, they are playable. I spoke too soon. We saw that. Okay. On the right is the Anastasia House, a boarding house. The building in the center kept separate was their kitchen because we are in Florida. It is hot here. You don't want a kitchen fire in your house. And I like to call this wall, the little wall that could, less than a foot thick, made from coquina. That big hole right there, that came from a cannonball. You'll see cannon and muskwell strikes all throughout the wall here, clearly standing strong. With the seashells and the coquina, they absorb the impact winds off the kitchen. That's why this doesn't crack nor crumble like stone or concrete. And at the end we have the Father Miguel O'Reilly house. The walls date back to 1691. O'Reilly lived here later throughout the 1790s. He sold citrus, mainly oranges. He sold enough that he bought the entire city block right here. After his passing, the land was left to the Sisters of St. Joseph. They are still here, all the land to the day. It's now their retirement home, and it's another free museum in town.
That's the one that looked like. It looked nice, but it looked creepy at the same time.
As we make our left, look over to the right, you'll see another Florida live oak with a palm tree growing through it. So another love tree. That one is extra vindy for you. And believe it or not, that road used to be bumpier. Yeah, it used to be a dirt road. Flagler came along, that man had high standards. Flagler went to the city, said, I'm bringing millionaires into town. The bare minimum you could do is pave the roads. With everything Flagler had done for the city, they said, Mr. Flagler. It would be an honor to pave the roads just for you. It's just not within our budget. So of course, he took matters into his own hands. He trained up to R.J. Reynolds, a brick manufacturer. Filled the train up with bricks, brought them back, told the city I bought them, you paved them, and they did. If you head down that road later, keep your eyes open, you will see original Reynolds stamped bricks.
Yeah. It's Spanish.
If you're looking for an adventure while you're here, look no further across the bay is Anastasia Island. Not named for the Russian princess, but the saint. Go climb our lighthouse. You can't miss it. Black and white counterclockwise stripes with a ruby red top. The lighthouse that resembles ours the most is up in Cape Hatteras, North Carolina. They too have a lighthouse with black and white counterclockwise stripes, but instead of a ruby red top, theirs is matte black. That's intentionally done. All of the lighthouses around the world are painted and or shaped different. So when and if you find yourself lost at sea, pull out your handy dandy lighthouse guide, play a fun little matching game. You'll see where you are from there. And we're coming up on the oldest house in the city, the Gonzalez Alvarez house. Named for the first and last owners of it.
Right here.
Their name was the Tober House, named for the infantryman for one's own dad, now home to the St. Augustine Surf Museum. Now you'll note that they have those doors and windows on the Spanish-built buildings here. It's very easy to tell between Spanish and English or American. Our windows are much higher than these are. In the back here, they do have banana trees growing. I don't believe they have any bananas on them yet, but keep your eyes peeled. You see them better than I do.
Pun intended?
Pun intended.
Yeah, exactly. That's the only reason why I tell that, even when they're not in season. But I'm sure you are familiar with IKEA furniture and how much it sucks. It's a hassle. It could be worse, so you could do that with an entire house, like the Cheshire house directly ahead of us. This here is a Sears catalog home. You would order it from their catalog. Yeah.
So you assemble
Their names
sauce.
were very much not a Sears catalog home. This is St. Francis Barracks. The Spanish, a Franciscan friary. The British came along, turned them into barracks. It's been occupied by whichever military's been here since. It's now the headquarters for the Florida National Guard.
This building right here.
Yeah, this is the National Guard.
To our left, this wall also dates back to ballpark 1690s.
Whole
to
fire
keep
hydrant.
people from climbing over walls like
Old
that.
mailbox.
They were covered in broken glass, pottery, and seashells. Cover that with manure. Climbing get a cut? Uh-oh. No modern medicine. You're going to the military hospital. But the bay here, at first called the Bay of Dancing Dolphins. Beautiful name, beautiful bay, dolphins playing it all the time. Known as something else now because of Pedro Menendez. He brought those Frenchmen from Jacksonville here, placed them in the bay, told them, you become Catholic or you die. In response, the French said nothing. They spoke no Spanish. Menendez was insulted. He was a man of his word. It's now Matanzas Bay, being the Spanish word for massacre. Coming up in the bay, we do have the Black Rave and our local pirate ship. They do excursions during the day for pirates of all ages. At night, just the big kid pirates. If you go on in an adventure with her crew, I recommend you be on your best behavior. You don't want to walk the plank here. Off our coast, we have the world's largest breeding ground for hammerhead, mako, and black tip sharks. So yeah, that's a lot of baby shark to do. If you want to find their teeth, go to our beaches or download a shark tracker app. See what Catholic Great is. She's nice with great white who likes a vacation off our coast. The other boat here that is now Trinidad. It is a replica of one of Magellan's Spanish flagships. They too offer tours.
Oh, finally I get something Trinidad.
The land here in front of it will be that cute and cozy mini golf course. Blink, you'll miss it. But this is the oldest mini golf course in the state of Florida. Opened back in 1949. The bridge behind the Trinidad, it is the Bridge of Lions. It is named for the two Carrera marble lions that guard this side of it. Their names here are Firm and Faithful. These are gifts to our city from Dr. Andrew Anderson II, a one-term mayor in town. There are two lions over on the Anastasia Island side. They're a lot newer, made from granite. Their names are Peace and Happiness. This is a drawbridge, goes up every half hour as needed. Upon its completion back in 1927, it was thought to carry around 10 cars an hour.
Wow.
Yeah, we easily beat that number today. All on Avonlea Street, I say it is indestructible. When the fort was built, it was painted white with red watchtowers to resemble the Spanish battle flag. 1702, Governor James Moore came here from Carolina to take over. He set him in across the bay on Anastasia Island. He set him into the north on Volcano Beach. For roughly 53 days straight, we were bombarded with cannon fire.
Wow.
Those cannonballs were spitballs against the fort. The only damage truly done was that they chipped the paint. At night, the Spanish would go out, collect the cannonballs, and shoot back the next day because they like to recycle. They would then repaint the fort. In the morning, James Moore saw no damage whatsoever. This baffled the man. He had no idea what torpedo was, and bless his heart, he thought we had a magic self-healing fort. He was quite the intellectual. This fort made him so mad, he went to town, he stole what he could, he burned us to the ground. The cracks you see here, the fort foundation, these came from the movie Distant Drums, filmed on site, released Christmas Day, 1951 for the movie. They filled our dry moat with water. It's called a dry moat because it is meant to stay dry. The standing water caused the foundation to shift, creating the cracks you see. The Spanish, instead, they farmed there. Under attack, they would shelter in the fort, place their cattle in the moat. The cattle would eat what they are growing. People inside, in turn, ate that cattle. And the most epic battle ever happened right here on this fort lawn. This battle lasted for only 2 hours. In that 2-hour time span, there were 0 casualties on either side. And according to our local physician, roughly 12 injured throughout that battle. All 12, they all had frostbite, primarily impacting their fingertips. That's because it snowed here back in 1977. A group of high schoolers had the most epic snowball fight ever there on the fort lawn. Lasted 2 hours until the sun came up. When the sun rose, temperatures rose with it, causing that snow to melt. That same year, we had snow as far south as Miami. So yes, sometimes we do get snow here in Florida, believe it or not. As we head into Ripley's, if you have any questions, what to do, where to see, where to eat, come talk to me. I've been told I'm really good at telling people what to do. Or go across the street there to the visitor center. They have plenty of information for you in there as well. As we head in, you'll see 2 statues guarding our gates, Lai Chi and Ki Lang. These are 2 of the oldest oddities in our collection, owned by Ripley himself. Those were gifts to him from the last emperor of China. Ripley suffered chronic night terrors. It was believed placing those outside of his home would help protect him from those bad dreams. We do know Ripley had them guarding his house up in New York. We don't know if they helped with the dreams, but for his sake, we like to believe that they did. And we've got another statue that was not owned by Robert Ripley, but is owned by us now. Peeking out behind our bushes, that is our exact replica of Michelangelos David. There are 2 exacts in the world. Number 1 here, number 2 in Australia, the original in Italy. exact meaning it is a life-size statue of David that is also made from the same Carrara marble used by Michelangelo. The last thing we do before we go home, we spray him head to toe with Windex that prevents streaking. At the back right, we also have the horse made from car parts, mainly chrome bumpers. It was a good luck charm to the Denver Broncos. They took that with them to the Super Bowl, and then they lost. That's why their good luck charm is in our back corner here. But friends, remain seated until I come to a complete stop and I ring my bell. If you enjoyed the tour, my name is Cheyenne, just like the capital of Wyoming. Let us know on Google or TripAdvisor. If you hated me, that's fine too. I'm now Henry Flagler. I've been dead here since 1913. Have a great day, folks.
Alright, thanks.
Oh, you were awesome. Thank you.
That's it for an amazing tour, guys. That was super fun.